Hello, Izumi Nation! Once again, I'm back. This is another edition of Mahou Shoujo Izumi-Chan. And we are looking at the one that not a whole lot of people voted for in the thing, but a lot of the people following the Tumblr feed and the Twitter feed seem to be excited for my reactions of, and hopefully I won't let you down. We are talking about Madoka Magica today. Special guest interviewer on this one is Toast.
Hey, folks.
Do you have anything to plug, Toast, or do you just want to be Toast?
I'll just be me.
There's just Toast. This is Toast, friend of mine, enthusiast of the Madoka Magicas. And we're going to be talking about that little TV series, strictly the series. I did watch the first two movies. I'd not watched the third one, which is the one that would probably be worth actually analyzing. So, maybe we'll do that in the future.
I would come back if you did an analysis of that.
Oh boy.
I've seen it. It's not as bad as it could have been.
Okay. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
So yeah. Let's get rolling.
Alright, we'll just start off with a simple question to start. Of the 5 Mahou Shoujos, which would you say was your favorite?
Oh god. I didn't like most of these characters.
Really?
I really, I guess I sympathized with all of them, but Shimbo, the director, I didn't feel like he wanted the audience to like these characters so much as feel bad for them. So I'm really debating how many of them I actually per se liked.
Well, maybe not so much liked, found the most interesting, maybe?
Well, the first character who I felt absolutely awful for, and admittedly, like, everyone had spoiled what was going to happen to Mommy.
Yeah.
Like, this has been out for years, so
yeah.
I knew that was happening. Mommy's death didn't really get me. The character who really made me feel bad for the big part in the middle there was Sayaka.
Yeah.
Sayaka, I felt bad for because I just want to call her a antagonist, or maybe rather an agonist, because she is constantly in agony, and she is definitely not pro enough to be a protagonist. Sayaka's pain was, like, anything, her function in the plot seemed to be, if something awful can happen, we're just gonna have it happen to Sayaka, because why spread the wealth? Like, really... oh, your soul's out. Who should notice this first, Sayaka? Who should we almost kill by having the soul go away? Sayaka. Who's gonna kill a bunch of Meninas on a train? Sayaka. Who's a witch? Sayaka. That's the Sayaka song.
Yep.
I really loved, I also really enjoyed, Kyoko's flashback. The bit with, talking about her father with the puppets. I loved the art for that, and because of my own family history with my family having some bad experiences with working for a church, that really spoke with me. But I didn't get enough of Kyoko on screen to really say that I understood.
Yeah, she was
entirely.
A side character at most,
which made me kind of sad. Yeah, so I guess Sayaka was the one who I felt like she had the most complete arc, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an awful, dead arc, but it's an arc.
Yeah. Well, she got the least amount of screen time of the 5. I was always rather fond of Mommy, especially when, with the Homura episode with the different time arcs, we get more insight into how, honestly, truly weak of a person she really is. Like, that scene where they discover the truth about magical girls being witches, and she just breaks down. Like, what's the point of living if this is what's going to happen?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I really thought about that scene. When you get to that part, when Mommy breaks down, my thought through that is like, okay, we have my vote for the weakest character I have ever seen in a magical girl show. No, really. Because, I mean, you look at, I keep referencing Sailor Moon in this show. I'm sorry for anyone who's sick of me bringing up Sailor Moon, but
it's a staple of magical girl shows.
Also, I'm an unapologetic Moonie.
Yeah.
So, But, people make fun of Usagi, Sailor Moon, for being, a whiny coward. But at least her response to, oh my god, we might die, isn't, I have to kill everyone and then myself.
Yeah.
Which which I assume was Mommy's plan, I think. No, she came off as incredibly weak. That episode actually made me like her less. Because she is so unpleasantly weak. I don't know.
When I like characters, it's not always about how good of a person they are, but how interesting they are. So sometimes having someone who's truly weak like that, it's kind of a fresh take in shows like this. So that one little scene I always kind of enjoyed. Maybe it's a little sick of me for thinking that.
It's okay. My favorite scene is the alternate timeline where Homura caps Madoka before going back in time, and I just looked at the screen. I'm like, you really want to go back in time? This might be the best ending you're gonna get.
Yeah,
I'm a bad person, by the way.
Oh yeah, seeing the face after that was just
Yeah.
Every time she wakes up, her face gets worse and worse when she wakes up back in that hospital, and the face she has after that particular time arc is pretty heart-wrenching.
She gets to Shinji it up.
Yeah.
Waking up in hospitals all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's hard to say, like, who... I think it's interesting what they did with who you're supposed to be focusing on, because... And we'll get to that later, because I know this relates to a question of yours, but we don't... The titular character does not get a lot of the screen time or focus in this show. It is very focused on everyone else, and I liked that.
Yeah. Alright, we can move on to another question. Let me pull up my list here. So yeah, they're in the show, they're about like 3 big reveals about the nature of magical girls. There's obviously the first one with the soul being removed and put inside the soul gem. There's a reveal about magical girls eventually falling to despair and becoming witches. And then we find out the whole reason as to why this is happening with the incubators and how they're basically harvesting this emotional energy. Which of these did you like? Which of these did you think was kind of stupid? What are your thoughts on this in general?
How did a advanced species, like, honestly, so what, on a dumb, well, not on a dumb, but on a, as someone who's big into high concept science fiction, the thing that angered me about the incubators was this bit where Kyubey is like, oh, my species doesn't understand your emotions. We don't have them. I'm like, bullcrap. How did you... If you're so highly evolved, how can you not have emotions? Emotional ties are actually an evolutionary advantage. It makes you take care of the rest of your species more effectively.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest plot point.
That's so... But, okay, so... But... understanding that bullcrap explanation was there, it at least justified what was going on.
Yeah,
I got that.
I liked the fact that there was an explanation as to why teenage girls are being chosen for this. Like, sometimes it's a little arbitrary. The fact that there was, albeit a bit of a bullshit explanation, I thought was also kind of a refreshing take.
It was a good try on their part. I appreciated it. I'm gonna say of those.
What was the most surprising? Maybe
for me, it was. This goes back to, I guess maybe I like Sayaka more than I admit. The most painful thing for me to watch in the entire series was after the soul removal scene. Is Kyubey putting pressure on Sayaka's soul gem
to cause pain.
Yeah, and watching her writhe on the floor. That was the most painful part of this show for me. And it goes back to something that the general feeling that I got from this show is that more than anything else, I felt like Gen Urabashi and Simbo, I felt like they wanted to make me feel bad. That they wanted to make the audience in general feel bad. I felt like that, more than anything else, was the goal, was to sicken and make the audience uncomfortable. And if that was the goal, I guess they were successful, because that was super... Oof. Now, the witch thing, that seemed to make sense. It was terrifying. I think for what was most emotionally effective, it was that scene with Sayaka on the floor. But what was the most bigger picture thing for me was the idea of the just never-ending cycle of magical girls, sorrow, witches, which leads to more magical girls,
Oh yeah,
more
hope
sorrow.
leads to despair.
Like the implications of this never-ending cycle was really terrifying, and it was a really kind of an existential terrifying.
Yeah.
That was very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question. One thing that was brought up a lot about Madoka is the comparison to the story of Faust. Do you have any thoughts on this in general?
The Faustian stuff, I really didn't. I mean, like, you're gonna get anytime you have a bargain with a figure like that seems too good to be true. You're always gonna get the selling your soul to a devil thing. I'm part of it is admittedly that I don't really give a whole lot of thought to the Faustian myth, so I didn't really have a lot there specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciated Urabashi and Shimbo, for those who don't know, the writer and director respectively, that they made it very clear throughout the show that they are very well-read people. Like, mm-hmm. that, like I said, like the Faust thing I honestly didn't read into too much, but other things like the symbolism throughout the show, the background symbolism was the stuff that hit me hardest.
Yeah.
When, for example, when Sayaka turns into a witch, Kyoko goes to talk to Madoka about her idea of trying to save Sayaka. And in the foreground of that scene, there are some decorations outside of buildings. And one of them is a mermaid, and one of them is a unicorn. And with those come the myths associated with those. Now, what Kyoko is hoping for is the unicorn. And by that I mean the myth of the unicorn is that the unicorn is this unstoppable, unbeatable beast, but it can be calmed and domesticated when it meets the maiden who can settle it. And Kyoko wants Sayaka to be the unicorn at that point.
And Monika's the maiden.
But the thing is there, the other thing is the mermaid. The Little Mermaid, which, again, is very similar to the Faustian myth. Someone who made a deal that they can never go back from and is ultimately doomed. They had something really... The story of the Little Mermaid. She gave up something very special in the hopes of getting her love, the love that she wanted more than anything else. And because she gave that up, she is now doomed to die. You have that symbol. It's telegraphed to you during that scene, and then when they encounter witch Sayaka, there's her mermaid tail. Before she's even dead, the show's already telling you she's a lost cause.
I never noticed that stuff you mentioned with the unicorn and mermaid in the background. That's actually really clever.
I really like that. Even later, there's another great scene of Madoka's mom talking to their teacher about
in the bar.
In the bar, yeah, and yeah, you can see the Sistine Chapel image of God reaching out to David, but God is darker in it. You can't see God's form, and you have that symbolism of what Madoka's mom is talking about. She feels disconnected from her child. The creator is disconnected from their creation. I loved bits like that. I loved the little musical references in the background. I loved that the people who worked on it were very well read, even if they were very pretentious and wanting to make sure that you saw that they were well read. Yeah. I enjoy that. Little stuff.
It's a very well framed show. It's just cinematography wise, it's a really fun show to watch, I would say, at least involving backgrounds. I
have such mixed feelings about the art in the show.
Really?
Because backgrounds are great. The witches, all of the witches are amazing. I love being attacked by scrapbooks. That's great. I hated the character designs.
That's understandable.
The character designs are bad. They are same. Every girl in the show has same face. It is the exact same face with a different hairstyle.
Different hairstyle and different kind of eyes. That's about it.
But even with that, it's their hairstyle always matches their eye color,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just same face all around. I think Kyoko is the only one who doesn't have complete same face, and that's just because she has a fang. I mean,
yeah.
it was really frustrating for me visually, because it's like, oh god, I really want to like more of this, but it's so same-facey.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a crux of the show. Well, we can move on to the next question. And this is one we referenced before. Do you feel that Madoka is the main character, or would you believe that Homura is more of the actual main character?
Yeah, it's weird because we've been talking about this, and we've barely talked about the titular character in this podcast, Madoka Magica. You'd think it's named after her. And I do think that was done on purpose.
Yeah.
And it relates back to Homura's time travel thing. We see in Homura's alternate timelines, in her flashbacks to the other worlds that existed before she could time travel, and as she time traveled, that in the earlier timelines, Madoka was much more your by-the-book main character magical girl.
Mm-hmm.
She was very Genki. She was in your face. She's making friends.
Happy-go-lucky, super, like, oh, we're gonna save the day.
Killing stuff with a bow and arrow, Very typical protagonist. And I love that with each time travel that Homura does, Madoka turns into more of a wuss.
Yeah.
Like, she has... Homura is much more of the main protagonist of the story, but mostly because in her attempts to save the protagonist, she has subverted any chance Madoka has at being a strong person up until her
wish.
Her
final wish.
I really do want to talk about the wish in general, because
I do too.
That's something that I feel like a lot of people misunderstand.
Yeah.
Now, Homura... I've been wanting to say this phrase for a long time, and I said it on Twitter, so anyone who follows me, I'm sorry because you've heard this before, but Homura is an interesting character because she is the kind of person who plays Spec Ops: The Line over and over again, thinking she's going to get the good ending eventually.
Oh, yeah.
There is no good ending, Homura. You're wrong. No, arguably there's a good ending, but this is why I'm a god-awful person. I understand that Homura's... the episode where we get Homura's flashback, that we explain her time travel, that she's been going back to fix what she sees as broken, and that it keeps failing, that is supposed to be a heart-wrenching episode. I was laughing the entire time. Like I said, I'm a bad person, because she kept making things worse.
Yeah, she really does.
Like, okay, first timeline, Madoka sacrifices herself to save everyone. So she wants to go back and fix that. This eventually leads to Mommy killing everyone, Homura getting to cap Madoka. The list goes on. The unavoidable fate of Sayaka turning into a witch and getting killed. Yeah. It's just a matter of how many people kill her.
Yeah.
That's such a dark way of putting it. But it's that Homura's thing didn't really click with me until her confession.
At the end of the episode.
At the end of the episode, when she comes out to Madoka and explains what her thing is, I thought that was heartfelt. I felt that was completely real. And I think that was the most emotionally honest scene in the entire show. Because, again, a lot of these other scenes hurt me or made me really think. But they weren't... It didn't feel like it was like a natural hurting me. Again, I really felt like...
They were going out of their way.
They were going out of their way to make this, like... This is dark, so we really need to make sure we're making it clear it's dark. Yeah. It's not enough to just imply darkness. It's got to be... You have to know it's dark. It's... Head got bit off. You know it's dark now, right? Soul rip out. Dark.
Yep.
Darkness.
No, parents.
No, yeah. Actually, wow, that you can make a fantastic AMV with the Batman song and this show.
Yeah.
Someone get on that was the first emotionally honest scene for me in the entire series, was Homura's confession, because that was real. That was true love. And I don't know if I'm going to, is it romantic? Is it friendship? I don't think it matters, because it's absolute, pure, overwhelming love for someone that has driven Homura to make things worse every time she does something. But by God, she hasn't given up. And yes, I say that in such a mean way, but no, I really do feel Homura, and to clarify my stance on it, yeah, I do think that it is full on, this is all the love that Homura has to offer. And this is the only way she has to express it. I thought that was beautiful. So, yeah, I think Madoka is in theory, a protagonist, but the only reason she isn't is because she was subverted from being a protagonist by a character who loves her so much that she doesn't want her to die, and as a result has made things worse for her.
Yeah. Well, with that, we might as well start talking about the ending then. What were your thoughts on it? I personally like the Pyrrhic victory style that it had. I'm generally kind of a fan of that style where it's, the world is saved, but at a great personal cost.
Okay, I have lots of opinions on this ending.
All right.
First, everyone is wrong. I'm going to start by saying everyone is wrong, because when Madoka makes her wish to end the cycle, this is a good wish. She has enough power that she can do this. She can end the joy, sorrow, witch.
Despair,
the hope, despair, witch cycle. She can do it. Everyone calls that form of Madoka, when she has finally overcome and broken that cycle, Godoka, as in she has become a god. Even the subtitles say this is her becoming a god. Because I shouldn't even phrase it that way. Because I was really into religious studies in college, I disagree with that terminology, because what Madoka becomes is a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva this is a Buddhist concept of someone who has gone through samsara, the cycle of rebirth and reincarnation again and again, very well shown by Homura's time travel bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
They have completed the journey of samsara to the point that they can attain nirvana. They can leave the cycle, and they choose not to, that they might help other people get through it instead. They sacrifice their own paradise, their own eternal paradise, that they might forever help everyone else get there. That, to me, that is bodhisattvadom. That is really what Madoka becomes. She gives up her physical form. She gives up her existence, her ever existing, in order to help everyone else break a cycle.
Yeah.
And that I like. I've always liked that the concept of the bodhisattva. I felt very strongly about it. And I cannot think of a better depiction of what a bodhisattva is than Madoka's wish at the end of this series.
I like that interpretation. I hadn't heard it take like that before. I was personally just saw it as not necessarily achieving goddom, but through paradox created her be given unlimited power, because there's a whole part where, well, she's going to have to turn into a witch someday. How is she going to stop herself? Thus, paradox.
Mm-hmm.
The movie actually, I guess I shouldn't talk about it too much because it spoils things, but it does something a little similar.
Now, on the other hand, the counterpoint that I'll make to this, after praising it so much, is because in this timeline, now you can argue whether or not the other timelines actually count, but as a result, in this timeline, Madoka has achieved bodhisattvadom and become a hero, despite the fact that on the journey she did almost nothing. She really almost doesn't earn. It feels like she doesn't earn this great victory. So it's a beautiful idea for an ending, but part of me feels like it wasn't really earned. And I guess that could lead to various arguments as to whether or not the alternate realities created by time travel count. And getting shot in the face by your friend several times counts. But, pardon me. No, that's just a funny image. No, I'm a bad person. But yeah, it's hard to say if going back to your earlier question, is she really the protagonist? Hard to say, and then you get into, did she really earn that ending? I'm not sure if she did, but at the same time, I like that ending, so... Also, on a weird side note and a much less heady note, I am amazed that more people weren't offended by the implication that Joan of Arc is a magical girl.
Yeah.
That was awesomely... I don't know what is with Japan's weird fixation with Joan of Arc these last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
But that was there's an entire manga about magical girl Joan of Arc.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
I don't even know how to process the existence of that.
You think that one was bad? I'm surprised nobody brought up the fact that Anne Frank was in that.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That was outright offensive, to be honest. Holy crap, you guys. That was an incredibly bad taste.
A little bit.
Like, okay, Joan of Arc, okay. I can understand that I could kind of understand that one, but Anne Frank? Wow! Wow! Guys!
It was in poor taste.
I don't know. At the end of the day, this was a really interesting show. I can't say I like it. Or, no, I mean, that is to say, I like it. I can't say that I hate it. But I also don't feel like it lived up to... There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype going in. But admittedly, there's been a lot of hype to the other shows that I've looked at on for Mahou Shoujo Izumi-Chan. And like I said in the video talking about what I'd be reviewing, I've previously done Princess Tutu and Utena at this point, and those were so heady and so philosophical and so big that this still felt kind of intellectually lightweight to me, despite all those nice things I had to say about the use of symbolism and bodhisattvas, and there are some really great ideas here. And I'm not sure...
They're just not as fleshed out. I mean, part of it could be there wasn't enough time, but I can't really imagine this show being much longer than it was.
I could not deal with this show being longer than it was. Like, it was so oppressively sad that I felt myself getting a little bit sick near the end. Like, it wanted so badly for me to feel bad that there were times where I felt like it was trying too hard. At the beginning, that was actually my biggest issue. I was...
With Mommy.
With Mommy, with Sayaka, like, both of them, I'm like, wow, this show really wants me to feel bad. Wow, this show really, really wants me to feel bad.
Yeah.
And then when, again... getting to Sayaka writhing on the floor, I'm just like, I don't know if this is necessary anymore. And maybe that means that it worked on the emotional level it was supposed to work on. Maybe. But I don't know.
I feel like at some point you should at least watch the movie. It kind of, like, the show ends up at a good wrapping up point. There aren't many loose ends, but I feel like the movie helps wrap things up even more in terms of, like, arc-wise, I guess. I don't know, it's hard to describe. But I'd say it's still definitely worth a watch. There's a lot of discussion that can be stemmed from it, I feel.
I'll probably take a look at it eventually. This was, like I said, this was a really interesting series for me. And I'm wondering if I would have either watched it before the hype wagon was as big as it was, or like earlier, if my opinion would be different, partly because I know that that my reaction literally cannot just be to the thing on its own. I wish it could be, but that's not how the human brain works, you know? I'm reacting both to it on its own terms, but I'm also reacting to the hype around it. Because the hype around it is part of what it is now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it... Like, Utena was... lived up to the hype in spades for me.
Princess Tutu as well.
Princess Tutu made me rethink what anime... Well, that's the thing is that, and I'm watching this after both Utena and Tutu, two shows that made me rethink what anime is as an art form. And I guess this was just a really sad show that handled itself really well in some places, but I don't know if it did anything beyond being really mean-spiritedly depressing for the sake of being depressing.
Mm.
This is probably the most complicated feelings I've had of any of the shows we've done so far, but I haven't. But who knows? Maybe the next one will make me rethink things. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Not in particular, really. I pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess this is definitely worth your time for anyone who's. Why did you listen to this if you haven't seen it yet? Yeah. Stop doing that.
Yeah, we pretty much talked about the entire series.
We've done that in all the other videos in this series, you guys. Stop doing that. And no, but I'm glad I saw it. I think it is an important piece of the culture that is modern anime. But I guess for anyone who's told me that this is like the big redefiner for the magical girl genre, I wouldn't go that far. It definitely subverts the tropes and turns things on its head, but I don't think it's the be all and end all.
No.
But we'll see. Urabashi, please keep writing. Shimbo, please keep being a psychotic pervert. I still love both of you. Thanks for coming on, Toast. I really appreciated that.
It was a pleasure.
Hope and everyone else listening, I hope you enjoyed this Mahou Shoujo Izumi-Chan episode. Look forward to hearing from you in the future. And remember to keep on spocking in the free world.
This episode of Mahou Shoujo Izumi-Chan brought to you by the amazing Toast, the wonderful Nick Izumi, and Reina Innocenti, who provided the character design for Mahou Shoujo Izumi-Chan. If you would like to submit fan art of any of these designs, please feel free in the future. Thank you. Continue watching.